What is up? What is up, Fight Hype family, boxing fans around the world? I'm sure a lot of you are going to be trickling in here from the Haney-Lomachenko press conference, kickoff press conference in LA that just went down on the Top Rank page. So, we were supposed to start, around 12:30, but Lomachenko and Haney took so long to go off that we pushed it back, and we didn't want to interfere with you guys checking out Haney and Lomachenko at the presser. So we decided we'll rock with this recap of Canelo's media day yesterday, and there's a lot to go to. There's a lot of notes I gotta go over with you guys. There's some video that we gotta. Oh, oops. There's some video we gotta go over. There's the unofficial Fight Hype live theme song, but there's some video we gotta go over from media day. How Canelo looked hitting the pads, what Canelo had to say, what our takeaways are from, and actually, guys, I know we said we had 3 takeaways, but we actually have more than 3 takeaways. We got about 10 or 11, but three, like, rest in peace to my man Dave from De La Soul. 3 is the magic number, so 3 sometimes sounds good for the titles, but we actually got a lot more than just 3 things to go over with Canelo Alvarez's media day yesterday. There was a few things, more than just 3, that we have to go over. So Marvelous Irv, good to see you, my brother, in the chat. Marvelous Irv, like a lot of you guys, was over in the Top Rank channel watching Haney and Lomachenko's first press conference, excuse me. So, Jeremiah says, who comes up with your titles for all of your videos? That would be the main man who runs the site, my man BT. So, good to see you, Jeremiah, in the chat. Good to see Brotherhood Sports. Brotherhood Sports saying Canelo's power is overrated. Most of his knockouts past 2016 were dives. Let's talk about a real boxer. Brotherhood, I don't see that at all. I think I was ringside I saw those guys fight with some fear of Canelo, to where, maybe you're watching at home and you're asking yourself, Callum Smith has a pretty good left hook. Why won't he actually throw it just once while he's getting beaten from pillar to post? Some of those guys were intimidated by the level they were fighting at, the aura of Canelo, and I think Caleb Plant fought a little more fearful of Canelo than he did, more relaxed and composed at that high level against Benavides, having been up against Canelo. But no dives I've seen, from Canelo Alvarez, and actually, seeing his punching power up close in the gym yesterday down in San Diego, it was just downright impressive and freakish that a man 5'8" coming up in weight could generate that kind of power. I know some of you will say, well, is it natural power or not natural power? In professional sports, I don't really think anyone's above suspicion. But I don't care even if the man is on something. The way he's punching at that size is just otherworldly. Some of that's just God-given talent. But let's take a look. What's up, boxing analyst? What's up, Team Batman Boxing? What's up, Dane Sampson? Good to see Dane, always holding it down for us in the chat. And we're going to get rocking in just a moment here, man. I just wanted some people I had to give people a minute to head on over from Top Rank back over here. So, did Canelo knock anybody out at 160 pounds? He didn't fight at 160 very long. It was Triple G, Jacobs, and Chavez at 164 and a half. So, no, he didn't knock anyone out at 160. But going back and watching those 2 Golovkin fights, I didn't realize how thin he was at 160. I always felt 160 was going to be where he topped out at, and 68 and 75 would be way too big for a guy 5'8" to move up. But he did move up, and since he's been at 68, Canelo's gone to another level. After the second Golovkin fight, all the way through to Caleb Plant, Canelo was the best fighter in the world pound for pound. I'm going to say from September of 2018 to November of 2021. Canelo was pound for pound number 1, and he's trying to get back there, and haven't seen him in his media day. He still looked hungry. So let's go over a couple of quick things here, a couple of big takeaways to take from yesterday's media day. Dimitri Bivol, not David Benavidez, is next in September, okay? Most of us already figured that already, but let's take a look at him just confirming that it won't be Benavidez in September. And Benavides may move forward with a David Morrell type fight on the PBC side, which is an excellent fight. But Bivol's been the plan since he got beat last May. So let's hear him confirm that it's Bivol first up in September and not Benavides. You were able to knock out Plant. Benavides goes the full 12 rounds with him, but wins.
How would you compare your performances and how
No,
Benavidez
it's
was?
difficult to compare. You know, styles make fights, and that's no don't say anything. So
And yeah, just to be transparent with you guys, the fans, the supporters here on Fight Hype, I'd like to keep it real with you guys. Yeah, I'm asking Canelo in a favorable light because last time he saw me, I've grilled him about Benavidez. I ask him about Benavidez every time I saw him. So I tried to come a little hat in hand here with Canelo and say, hey, you knocked him out. Benavidez went the distance. You know, so yeah, if you're wondering, that phrase of questioning, it is meant to soften Canelo up a little bit there. But you'll see throughout the day, once I started letting the real questions fly, he gave me some real answers.
sometimes you can knock out somebody and other not. So it's not compare it.
You know, Eddie Hearn, he said that the Bivol fight, it's not official for September. Any chance it's Benavidez in September instead, or is it going to be Bivol?
Yeah, always. I always available to fight anybody, right? But right now, you know, my goal is to fight Bivol in September. If that fight is not happening, then we'll see.
I know as a little boy you watched Morales.
I mean, so there you go. It's Bivol in September. We all already know that. David Benavidez knows that. Benavidez, after the fight with Plant, did not say Canelo's ducking him. He said he's, doing his options right now, and he's got his rematch with Bivol. And then this is just me fanboying a little bit because I can't wait to see these two fight, Benavidez and Canelo. And Morales Barrera was as great a fight as I've ever seen in my lifetime. And so that's where this last question comes from.
Morales Barrera. Would you and Benavidez be like Morales Barrera but at 168 pounds?
Yeah, why not?
You're Barrera?
I
And
don't
he's
know.
Morales. Well, he won 2 out of 3. So.
Yeah, can happen. Why not?
Thank you, Canelo.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, that was the best I could do with 3 questions. But, so, and by the way, when it comes to Benavidez, Canelo, 168, Morales Barrera, Canelo would be Barrera and Morales would be Benavidez. Morales, like Benavidez, the tall guy, more volume, throwing more punches, and a fiery guy that if you want to get under his skin, it's not very hard. It's not very hard to get him to start talking about how he's going to beat you up and send you the hot. Eric Morales was the same way, a fiery guy that if you pulled on his collar, smoke would start coming out. And Benavidez, if Canelo chose to approach a press conference or a fight that way, would easily get Canelo or Benavidez to kind of play the part of Morales with where he held animus towards Barrera. Although I don't expect that to ever happen between these two. I expect these two to show a lot of respect to each other if and when they ever meet. But Canelo would be the Barrera in those fights. The shorter guy, less volume, more accuracy, trying to place that hook to the body against the taller guy in Morales and Benavidez. So I mean, at 168 pounds, you can't expect them to throw at the volume and exchange at the volume Morales and Barrera did. But I think it could be, the best fight in boxing, Canelo and Benavidez. It could be tremendous. And if and when they meet up, I think it lives up to the hype. So to get back to another note now that we confirmed it's Dimitri Bivol and not David Benavidez next in September, I'm going to touch on, you know what? We'll try to stay in sequential order here. And what's up, chat? What's up to my man Marvelous Irv, my man Dane Sampson, my man Eabom, Weedy Gonzalez. Great to see Weedy Gonzalez. Great to see all you guys in the chat. Dane saying it's good to see Canelo cool with my boy Sean. Indeed, we didn't know how that was going to go over. I always got to ask some tough shit for Canelo, but he's a man's man who handled it well. Handled it with class. And we'll get to that in a minute. So anyways, point number 2. Canelo knows he must be much better for the rematch. Says he'll have to do what he did between fights number 1 and fights number 2 with Golovkin. He threw 100 more punches overall throughout that fight. Fight number 1 against Golovkin, he backed up a lot, got put on the ropes a lot, threw 505 punches. Fight number 2, he fought until exhaustion. He kept punching even when he was exhausted instead of taking breaks on the ropes like he did against Bivol. And he threw 622 punches, basically 120 punches more than from the first fight to the second fight. And that averages to 10 more punches per round. That's giving yourself a much better chance of winning a decision than it would be without. And Canelo states that Eddie Reynoso told him he had to throw 100 more punches in the rematch with Golovkin. He's told him he has to do that once again if he's going to win a rematch with Bivol. Let's hear it from Canelo himself here when he talked about that. Let me see here. Excuse me. Getting some things straight. Which one was it? Here we go.
Are you gonna do that with Bivol again?
Here we go. Point number 2 right here.
Saul.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Saul, you know that from the first fight to the second fight with Golovkin, you threw 120 more punches in the rematch. You went from. Are you gonna do that with Bivol again? Throw a lot more punches and.
The second fight with Golovkin, Eddie said you need to throw more than 100 punches more. So that's what I did, and I win.
I never knew that. I always came away. I always have talked on these lives. A lot of you guys know I always talked about how Canelo threw 120 more punches in the rematch, kind of like Ward did in his rematch with Kovalev. They showed up twice the fighter and became victorious because of it. But I never knew until Canelo confirmed to us right there that was on purpose. That was the game plan, literally putting a number to it. Over 100 more punches in the rematch from Reynoso, and Canelo did it. And if he's going to have any chance of beating Bivol, he's going to have to summon that again. He was able to summon that at 28 years old. Let's see if he could summon it at 32 against a bigger, right now better fighter even than Golovkin was at that time in Bivol.
So with the fight with Bivol, we know what we need for that fight, right? I'm knowing my best, but if I'm available to train 100%, nobody can with me.
Are you going to be available?
You hear that? He said, and real quick, someone in the chat, Ayabom said, man, tell your baby daddy, David Benavides, to fight Bivol or Beterbiev. Stop weight bullying 168. He said he'd been boxing. Why he never fought the original monster, GGG? Well, the original monster, GGG, wasn't interested in fighting anyone outside of Canelo Alvarez for the last half decade. He didn't want to fight Boo Boo Andrade. He didn't want to fight anybody at 60 until he got the Canelo fight again, the big fight, the only one he cared about. And I've told David Benavides, you could look up my archives, Iabom, where I've asked David and his father about using his WBC spot to go ahead and jump up and fight Beterbiev straight away. It's not the move they want to make, but I've asked them about it. I've DM'd David and Team Benavides about, hey, if these guys at 68 are going to keep playing games, just go up to 75 and see if you can, take your WBC ranking, being the champ or former champ at 68, get rated number 1 at 75 and fight Beterbiev. But this is the business of boxing. In order for him to face Beterbiev, some business with Bob Arum and Top Rank would have to be hammered out, and he is under a multi-fight deal with PBC. And again, it's a business, and there's more money at 168 pounds than 175 right now. And those fights aren't realistic for him because he's with Al Haymon PBC, and Bivol's with Eddie Hearn Matchroom, and Beterbiev is with Top Rank. But I've told Team Benavides, hey, if 68 is going to keep stalling out, then go to 75 and fight Beterbiev. I've done that, but as things shake out, this is their careers, not ours. And as things have shaken out, he finally has gotten a big fight. He beats Plant, and now he's on Canelo's radar legitimately. So he is on his way, I think, to nailing that Canelo fight. If he can continue to look impressive, if he fights Andrade, if he fights Morrell to finish out 2023. He can't go life and death. He's got to beat them and look good. But I think if he does that, and he's more than capable, I think he's getting the Canelo fight next year. That's just the hunch I got from Canelo Alvarez yesterday. Let's rewind back to what Canelo said a minute ago.
With Bivol, we know what we need for that fight, right? I'm knowing my best, but if I'm available to train 100%, nobody can with me.
So right there, Canelo says, if I'm available to train at 100%, no one can beat me. Let me go back to that right now. So Canelo says at 100% health and training, he beats everybody. Benavides, Bivol, etc. And he confirmed that he's back to 100% health for 2023. We'll get that confirmation right here in this vid. Hold up.
Are you going to be available to train at 100% this year? Oh.
Yeah, that's what I so motivated, because I'm able to train 100%, and when I'm in that mood, nobody can beat me.
What was wrong? Was it the hand?
Yeah, it was the hand. Until like 2 years ago, and then I fight 4 times in 11 months, so get more and more. But it's boxing.
So 2021 Canelo is back. 2021 Canelo is back.
Yeah, the same.
So, yeah, he expects to be back to where he was. I mean, fighters say that. You got to expect a fighter to say that. You know, they're not going to say, yeah. You know, fighters, even the greatest ones, Ali, you know, with his jaw broken after Frazier, after the first fight, saying he felt like he won the fight and he knows he'll win the rematch. Fighters always have rationalizations and excuses for why they lost, and Canelo's no different. He did that just now. He had his rationalization, but I liked what I had to hear. You know, and let's take a look at this next one too. How he said that he'll beat everybody. Kind of a funny exchange I had with Canelo. Let's check that out for a second. Let me see. Is this it?
You know, what do you? Yeah.
Forgive me here, everyone. This was it.
Everybody.
And everybody. Well, and this actually goes hand in hand with a few other points I got to make right here, which is, so he said, you know, confirmed back to 100% for health for 2023, but he also said that, again, he displayed incredible power while only throwing punches at 50% force, and he revealed it comes from his tree trunk legs. But he confirmed he will be back at 168. And where was the one we just saw? Yeah, everybody. When he says everybody right here, just a funny little interaction here from Canelo where he reiterates everybody. So that means Bivol, Benavidez, all of them. He feels like he's going to beat them heading into this year. And let's take a look at those legs we were talking about for a minute.
Natural.
He just told me routines and everything, but most of my legs is natural. Huh? And Raul put a little bit more.
Is that where the power comes from?
Huh?
Is that where the power comes from?
Everything comes from.
And we'll take a look at the power in a minute. This man, I couldn't believe it. I can't believe that he may hit just as hard, maybe even a touch harder, than the 6'2" Mexican monster David Benavides, who walks around close to 200 pounds. But those legs you just saw, they generate a freakish power for a guy who's just 5'8".
Huh? If you land one of these punches on John Ryder, it's over.
For everybody.
Yeah.
Ooh, for everybody? Bivol too?
Yeah.
Benavides too?
Everybody.
Everybody.
You know the word everybody? So, you got it.
Todo. Todos.
Todos. Everyone in Spanish, right? Am I wrong? But I said that just to rile him up, man, just to make sure Canelo's in his bag again, that he's still got all that confidence. You go, really? You know, sometimes we are fight hype, so sometimes we hype him up. Is it really, champ? You know, Bivol too? Yeah, yes, Bivol. Benavides too? You know what everybody mean, don't you? You know, so it's just good that he's still talking hungry. He's not talking just cash shit. He's not just saying, what have these guys done, X, Y, and Z. You know, which brings me to a point right here, which is Benavides is officially on the radar. No more who has he fought since beating Plant. Since he's beaten Plant last Saturday, Benavides is officially on the radar. No more who has he fought. You know, he fought one guy, Anthony Dorel. But now he's fought Anthony Dorel and Caleb Plant. So he's got a chance to get the fight. And from the vibe I got from Canelo yesterday, it was that the fire in his belly has been lit when it comes to Benavides. He to me is a true champion, and anytime you keep putting microphones in front of a true fighter's face and keep basically saying, are you going to fight this guy or not? Are you going to fight this guy or not? And now that Benavides has actually proven himself, having fought a common opponent and after losing the first 4 or 5 rounds, performed very well down the stretch, actually outlanded Canelo significantly in terms of number of punches landed against Caleb Plant. But I think now that he's shown him something, that Canelo is beginning to be up for that challenge. And we'll touch on that right here. Check it out. Right here is where, again, I'm starting to sense that he's warming up to that challenge of it. Here we go.
Yeah.
No.
Or you like it? You like
He's-
it?
he's-
Asking about Benavides, do you feel it all like, you know, no mama's way, like, you know? What do you? Yeah.
No.
Or you like it? You like it?
He's a good fighter, but like I say to him,
See that right there? He's engaging. He's not doing the professional athlete thing where he just says a bunch. He's not shooting down the fight. He's not. If he wasn't to my eyes, if Canelo wasn't interested in the fight, he would start shooting him down. He would start talking up resume again. He would say, "Come on, this guy. You guys made so much out of this guy, and he couldn't even stop my leftovers." He would do things to throw cold water on Benavides and on the fight, and that's not what he was doing. He was throwing wood on the fire a little bit, started talking his shit, saying, you guys said Golovkin was the monster. He was going to knock me out. Remember that? So it's going to be the same thing all over again. I'm 100% healthy. Everybody can get it, you know?
everybody say the same thing before I fought with Golovkin. Oh, he's a monster. He's gonna knock out Canelo. He's this and that. At the end of the day, it's not the same. Be in the ring with other fighters like be in the ring with me. It's different.
It sounds like you're starting to like the challenge, though. Like you're starting to get the fire lit.
I like challenge, but I have a goal this year in my career, right?
So we'll get it next year.
And it's a really hard fight for me, like people fight. But look, I like that kind of challenge. It's mean, but you can't say, oh, Benavides is a good fight. It's a good fighter, but I mean.
He said Benavides is a good fight. He's a good fighter. He's not throwing cold water on it. He's just saying, I'm something different. And you're not going to just walk me down and look like a monster fighting me with the kind of heat coming back your way.
I've been in the ring in hard fights with everything.
He's saying, who the fuck you think you're talking to? Guys, it's me. Good
fighter there, so.
Are you coming back to 68 or are you going to stay at 75 after people?
68.
Coming back to 68?
Okay, so he confirms he's coming back to 68. Let's get back to the notes, ladies and gentlemen. Confirms he's coming back to 68, right? Right here. Confirms he will be returning to the 168-pound weight class after Bivol. So, what that means, as of right now, even David Benavides is saying Canelo Alvarez isn't ducking him. I agree, he's not. You know, he lost that rematch with Bivol. Go ahead and take a crack at redemption. Even if you lose, guys like Shane Mosley against Vernon Forrest and Winky Wright, we commended them for getting back in there and being stubborn and trying to right a wrong. But I'll say this, and I think Canelo, and we'll get to that in my notes, I think Canelo actually is going to face Benavides next year. A lot of people in the business would side-eye me and say, you're letting the fan in you talk rather than the person who actually understands the business of boxing. And that's probably true to a degree. This is a little wishful thinking. But if Canelo is to keep fighting at 168 after Bivol, and it's not David Benavides, should Benavides continue to win in the fights he's having in the interim, then it's a duck. Then it's official. Canelo is ducking David Benavides. That hasn't been the case up until now. David's had to prove himself. A pay-per-view fight he headlined against Plant that sold out the MGM. Big step towards doing that. And Canelo acknowledged it. That's why, for the first time ever, in my eyes, he was realistically talking about the fight. Knowing it's not going to happen next, but beginning to entertain the idea realistically. Now, that being said, if Canelo returns to 168 after Bivol and it's not Benavides, that's when we can officially say Canelo's ducking Benavides. But I got to say, guys, from what I felt from Canelo yesterday, I felt a certain fire from him on us continuing to ask him about Benavides. I felt that he was confident heading into Ryder in the Bivol rematch, and I just got the sense that he kind of gave me this impression that I'm going to get to that motherfucker eventually. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. I hear what all of you guys are saying, and this is me. This is Canelo Alvarez you're talking about. The little boy from Guadalajara who's been boxing professionally more than half his life, who's gone up against the biggest and the best. So Canelo, to me, is a true champion, and I think that he will give the fans what they want as long as Benavides continues to impress in his second fight of 2023. He is a free agent after not only this fight, but I'm sure Eddie Hearn will try to lock him into a multi-fight extension. But I think Canelo, maybe he'll prove me wrong and disappoint me here, but I think Canelo's a true champ. And, after Bivol, I think he's already confirmed that he's going back to 168 pounds. The only fight at 168 pounds, barring someone like Morrell upsetting Benavides, is Benavides. And so I think the fight goes down. Canelo didn't have to fight Lara in 2014. He took it. He stalled Triple G out along with Golden Boy for a few years, but eventually he took it, and a lot of people thought he lost the first fight, but then he fought with tremendous heart and courage and walked down the knockout artist, and Triple G walked him down in the second fight and beat him. And since that moment, he became the best fighter in boxing up until he lost to Bivol, and now he's trying to get that back. So I feel that Canelo is really entertaining the Benavidez fight, and that if Benavides looks good his next fight and takes care of business, and Canelo is either very competitive with Bivol and loses, or somehow turns the tables and beats him, I think Canelo's going to look to fight Benavides. I imagine he saw some openings that he could take advantage of in the Caleb Plant fight. So, we'll see. So let me show you next here. Displayed incredible power while throwing punches at only 50%, and he revealed it comes from those legs, which we talked about. Tyson was like that, had those tree trunk legs. And let's just take a look at the punching power, because again, I'm fresh off of seeing David's power up close in Seattle. I did not expect Canelo to equal the power of the 6'2" Mexican monster, but he equaled it and may have, by the slimmest of margins, even edged it out. Let's take a look, guys. Listen to Canelo's power while just throwing easy with technique, not even throwing with full leverage, full speed, none of that. And let me tell you guys, it's like an earthquake. It's like thunder clapping. The YouTube audio doesn't even do it justice. This man is just he's just throwing with technique, with no speed and not fully sitting down. He's just boom, 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 boom. And when he's hitting it, it sounds like thunder every time he touches it, even at 50% speed. Just freakish power for a man that size. I mean, thudding power without even really fully committing to the shot. Well, that one he stepped into a little bit, but... Bombs. Bombs. With great form and precision and technique from Canelo. Yes, Modern Czar said, Canelo's power comes from his whole body rotation. Yes, sir. Yep. Let's look at the rotation in Canelo's hips, the leverage, the form. It's just, yeah, he's Canelo for a reason, man. And again, not throwing a bunch of combinations like David Benavides, and that shows in their fights. He's more accurate than Benavides, but Benavides is busier than him. And we'll compare these two in my notes in just a second. SD Hydro says weak punches. Hydro, I put that on my mom. If you were there in San Diego yesterday, that's the last thing you'd be saying. That man has power. Him and Benavides are both punchers. That neither one, I guess, is a one-punch knockout artist. Whatever the tier is, the semi-tier below one-punch power is where Canelo and Benavides are at. They are cracking. They can fucking punch. They may not get a lot of one-punch. Canelo's got some, but against little guys like Khan. But yeah, these guys can both punch. It's going to be tremendous if and when they meet up. Really gets that lower half into it, man. I think here is where he said the 50.
What round for Ryder, Canelo? What round?
But yeah, that's him just throwing at 50% and still just delivering thunder, man. That shit is freakish. And to compare notes between these two, So let's compare. After I saw Benavides up close in Seattle, saw Canelo yesterday, and here's how I would compare these two in my notes. Here we go. Canelo's power remains incredible. At 5'8", he might actually hit a little bit harder than the 6'2" Mexican monster who walks around 200. Incredible punch placement and accuracy to go along with it, and he still has amazing defense. The speed, the youth, the volume, and the size favor Benavides these days, though. And so to compare someone on my Twitter asked me to compare the punching power of Canelo and Benavides, and I'll just say this. Both tremendous punchers, both just shy of being one-punch knockout guys. Whatever the little tier below that still ranks you as a puncher, but you're not a one-punch knock, that's Canelo and Benavides. I guess when you're a one-punch guy, they call it you're a home run hitter. They are some damn good triples hitters, Benavides and Canelo. They are both cracking. To my eyes, punch for punch, Canelo hits a little bit harder than Benavides because he throws every shot, he puts everything on every shot, that form on every shot. Benavides he'll throw the fast shot and finish with the hard shot. He'll when he reaches for the right hand to the body, he takes a little something off of it sometimes. Benavides will vary the speed and the level of force in his shots more than Canelo. With Canelo, every shot's a bomb. And thus, punch for punch, I think he hits a little harder than Benavides, which is just insane for a guy 5'8" to somehow equal the power of a 6'2" Mexican monster, because Benavides is a monster in person with his punching power as well. But I'll say this, even though I think punch for punch Canelo hits just a little harder, Benavides is definitely faster these days, although timing and accuracy offset just pure speed. But Benavides, I'll say this, when he really, really gets full force on the left hook, when he really 100%, gets the best shot, the best amount of power he could throw on a shot, I do think his very best shot is probably a hair harder and deadlier than Canelo's. It comes out a little faster, and he's such a big guy that I do think David's very, very, very hardest punch against Canelo's is a little harder. But consistent power, punch to punch, round to round, I got to give an edge to Canelo because he throws every shot like a bomb. Not every shot from David is the bomb. And so I give a slight edge to him. However, hand speed is David Benavides these days. And that is the one thing I noticed in 2022, and that is media day, even though he wasn't throwing a lot at full speed, so it was a little hard to judge. But I do see Canelo, the first thing that's starting to slip. He's still great, still powerful, accurate, smart, great defense, but is his speed, his hand speed in that third Golovkin fight, it should have looked like night and day against a 40-year-old Triple G. And he was still faster than Triple G, but it wasn't night and day. Maybe with the hand injury rehealing and everything, he'll look a little snappier than he did last year. But to my eyes, Benavides is bigger than him. He has a better gas tank than him, throws more punches than him. But punch for punch, it's basically even in power. Maybe a slight edge to Canelo because he commits and sits down on each and every punch, whereas David will vary it up a little bit. But the volume, the stamina, the speed, the youth, the size belong to Benavides. The defense, the IQ, the accuracy belong to Canelo Alvarez. After seeing them both up close, I'm only more convinced it's just an amazing fight. It's a fight that will live up to all expectations if and when it happens. And this is my opinion. Just feeling out Canelo yesterday, I think, yeah, he's going to take the challenge at some point. So get ready, guys, because after this year, and I do think Canelo's going to come. You heard what he had to say. He acknowledged he has to do with Bivol what he did in the second Golovkin fight. Empty the gas tank, throw 100 more punches than you did last time, because he was done by round 7 or 8 against Bivol. He was huffing and puffing and really stopped trying to win the fight in the second and a half because he basically was like, I'm tired, fuck it. I'm just going to defend myself on the ropes and, spurt here and there. Bivol even began to figure out Canelo's offense in the second half of the fight. But I still think Canelo's going to show up better. I think Bivol's going to be better too. That's the problem for Canelo. Bivol's more relaxed at that, under those bright lights. He knows he can beat this guy. So I think Bivol will be a little bit better, and so will Canelo. And that second fight is going to be a lot more entertaining than that first fight, which, Bivol won by a dull decision. But whenever he concludes with that, I think we're actually on to Canelo Benavides in 2024. I think it happens May or September next year. We already know Canelo's coming back to 68. We already know he entertains Benavides as a good fighter and a good fight now. So why not? Why not? We know that after this fight, he's a free agent. Hearn will try to lock him in for multiple fights again, but hopefully Alvarez just tells him, hey, you got me for Bivol. And you got me for Bivol, and that's it. And then I'm a free agent. I got to keep my options open for this Benavidez fight that all these people keep asking me about. And so Bivol will knock out Canelo next time, says Mike Maz. I don't think so. Canelo's chin is so good. I think Bivol probably wins again. He definitely deserves to be the favorite, but I think you're going to see the real Canelo in fight number 2. You're going to see that 2021 Canelo, not the 2022 Canelo, or at least something closer to 2021 than 2022. Bivol should still come out on top with his jab, his feet, how strong he is, not only in delivering shots, but in taking shots. But I think Canelo will show up and give a better account of himself, not just gas by the 6th and 7th round and get hands put on him. So, and then last note, chat. Last note, chat, right here. I gotta give it to Canelo. Lastly, he's matured as a man, more humble these days through all the success than he was in his 20s. Humility with the fans and media yesterday, and I'll show you guys being cool, how he was cool to a fan. But I say that because a lot of times it works in reverse. And Clarissa Shields and Canelo Alvarez are two fighters I want to commend as people, because as their success and fame has grown, they've actually become better people, more approachable people. When Canelo was in his 20s, very hard to approach him for an interview. He could be adversarial with the media, not really give us anything, not really answer our questions, kind of do what Bill Belichick does in the NFL. Give us just, generic quotes to shut us up and keep it pushing. And I understand that's what focused people do sometimes, is they're not trying to entertain narratives and questions and clicks and all that. They got their eyes on the prize, and they could give a fuck about what me or any of the media is asking about. I understand that. But I like that he understands the game now. These people have a job to do. I'm going to treat them with respect and try to give them some good quotes when I can. And Clarissa Shields, for her pro debut, before she fought Cruz Dezern on the Kovalev-Ward undercard, she was tough about getting an interview with. She didn't really want to be in the media room in the morning that morning. Now, if you see Clarissa in a media room, she's got that, beautiful smile. She's an incredible interview, incredibly insightful, funny, and will give you the time of day. And it's impressive that Canelo and Clarissa, usually it's the other way around. Usually when you get them when they're young, they're humble, they'll give you all the time in the world, and then once they win the titles and get some fame, you got to go through the publicist and hey, I'll get you next time, I don't really got time right now, and all that. And I understand that's part of life too and success. But Canelo and Clarissa did it in reverse. They've become nicer, warmer, and more approachable for not just media but fans as they've grown in success. So good on them. And just to make that point, this was Canelo actually taking some time, and he signed a lot of autographs. He signed more autographs yesterday than I've seen him in the first 10 years I've dealt with him. And this is just, this is lighter stuff, but check it out. I should have said, hey kid, you're fucking up my interview. No, I'm just kidding.
You scored, kid.
That's it. I need to.
¿Cómo estás, campeón? ¿Cómo estás, campeón? Benavides.
And so yeah, I give Canelo props, because right there, he's signing autographs for the kids on his media day when he really doesn't have to. He's got media obligations too. He signed a bunch of autographs, signed more autographs and took more pictures yesterday than I seen him in the first 10 years of covering him. And that to me says growth. Forget boxing for a second. Growth as a human being, as a man. Good on him. And then he sees me, the bitch-ass white boy who asked him, well, Benavides is really half Ecuadorian. He's born in America. Do you really want to fight him, champ? Just because you don't want to fight Mexicans? And he sees me, and what's the first question I got? It's about Benavides again, and he was a gentleman. And so, respect to him as a man, not just as a fighter, for growing and showing humility despite the millions and the success and the belts and the fame. So, good on Alvarez. As you guys could tell, had a very pleasant experience yesterday. I enjoyed watching a future Hall of Famer, one of the all-time greats, demonstrate his freakish punching power at 5'8", and I appreciated him not ducking David in terms of all the questions, not taking it out on us, the media, pegging us like we're the bad guys for asking him, and for not shooting Benavides down and throwing cold water on it, saying, he still beat my leftovers. He couldn't stop him. I did. All that kind of talk. No, he says he's a good fighter. It's a good fight. You guys know I have this goal with Bivol first, and after that, we'll see. And Canelo, I'll hold him to his word now. And he said he's coming back to 168. Who else is he going to fight at 168 if it's not Benavides? So if Canelo returns to 68 and doesn't fight Benavides next year, it's a duck, and I will call it accordingly. But for now, and he didn't confirm he's going to fight him next year, but I just got the sense from him that if Benavides continues to impress to finish out the year, and people like me and the Mexican media and the Mexican fans keep harassing him about Benavides, that we're going to see that fight. So that's what I came away with yesterday, that we will see this fight. I think that's in my notes even. I think we see it May or September of 2024. Where did I put that at in my math? Yeah, here we go, because Benavides is officially on the radar. No more who has he fought since beating Plant. My opinion, if Benavides continues to impress, Canelo Benavides happens in 2024. So that's it, man. Canelo looked good in training. Hand speed doesn't quite look the same right now, but accuracy, power, all that, still there. It's going to be tough for John Ryder. John Ryder is a resourceful guy. He's a southpaw. He could be in your chest, and then he can move around a little bit and do that too. But it's the first time Canelo's fought someone his own size since like Liam Smith or someone like that. I mean, Chavez Jr. was even. I mean, Triple G's the same size as Canelo, but I mean, Triple G even has some reach and some height on Canelo. Ryder at 5'9", not long arms, is really the first guy about the exact same size as Canelo that he's fought in years. So I expect him to take care of business against Ryder. I expect him to look a lot, to empty the tank in training and to put on a better effort against Bivol. Put a gun to my head. I still think he's going to fall short, but I don't count him out. I don't count out a future first ballot Hall of Famer, who's going to give it all in camp and knows what he has to do against this style a second time around. I don't count Canelo out. But we'll see, man. It was fun to cover him. Let me get to some people in the chat. I've been yapping, getting my points out without really talking to the chat. Sonia Dumas, great to see you. Dane Sampson. Who would you favor between Canelo and Ward at 68 at their best? Not a hard fight for me to pick. Ward. Ward's natural at the weight. Canelo moved up. Ward is so good on the outside, but then can be really good on the inside too. He's 6 foot. Canelo's 5'8". Ward's 6 foot. Knows how to make the use of every inch of his size and reach and length on Canelo. I just think he beats Canelo. Yeah, I think Ward would have beaten Canelo. I think James Toney would have beaten Canelo. Bernard Hopkins would have beaten Canelo. But he's an all-time great at the same time. Just because I pick other all-time greats to beat him doesn't mean he himself isn't one. Especially a smaller guy, doing the things he's done. CW says Benavides should fight David Morrell or Charlo in between and create a real live legit threat and not just a media-made threat. Well, he began doing that with Plant last Saturday, and I think that's the plan, CW. I don't think the plan is to move Benavides against the WBC mandatory Christian Mabili. From what I've heard from people in the business, the most likely plan for Benavides to finish the year is a fight with David Morrell, which I kind of don't like that fight because it's such an excellent fight that's happening too soon. It's undercooked, and in boxing, we'll take undercooked these days over not happening at all or over marinated and cooked to death. So, but Benavides, especially if Benavides could fight Canelo and beat him in the next year, I think in the next year and a half, I think Benavides and Morrell 2-3 years from now is a legit pay-per-view fight. I think Morrell is going to connect with the Cuban audience in America the way no other Cuban has, because they've either been small like Rigondeaux or Casamayor, or they've been movers like those two and Erislandy Lara, or they've been old like Luis Ortiz. Morrell is young. He's learning the language. Not a bad-looking kid. He's fast. He hits hard. He has good feet. So I think Morrell, I'm very high on Morrell's future, and I don't love putting him in there with the Mexican monster when he hasn't even had 10 pro fights yet. And for Benavides, I don't like the fight because you could lose to this kid. And you got real big fights with veterans like Charlo and Canelo on the table and Bivol. And this kid could fuck it all up because he really is that talented, even though he's green. But that being said, if that's the fight, and I'm hearing it's very possible that that is the fight David winds up taking to finish 2023, Benavides-Morel is an excellent fight. It's the kind of fight that if Canelo's holding you to a certain level of opposition in order to earn a shot at him and whatnot, then Morel will pass that threshold. Everyone that knows boxing knows he's the most exciting up-and-comer at 68. He's big. He's the only guy who's as big as Benavides at 68. It's a great fight. It's just undercooked. And I do think Benavides would come out on top of that because he's entering his prime and Morel is not there yet. So, but a very dangerous fight for both guys. I don't really love it happening this soon. I'd rather that fight marinate. But in today's era, we'll take undercooked over not served at all. Mike Moss says Floyd and Canelo was undercooked. A little different because Canelo did, in beating Trout, Canelo became the man at 154. WBC, WBA, Ring Magazine. And so even if you're not at your peak yet, anytime you're the champion of a division, you have to be ready to face anybody. You're good enough to be the champ. And also, Floyd had no time to marinate at 36 years old. It had to be now. And so the fight happened when it did. Canelo clearly got better after that fight. Clearly his best weight class wasn't 154, let alone 152. It was 68, as Future would tell. And he was even better at 60 than at 54. But still, Floyd didn't beat a green Alvarez. He just didn't beat Alvarez at his peak. He beat Alvarez when he was the unified, undefeated, Ring Magazine super welterweight champion. He's the best super welterweight in the world. Morel and Benavides is different. These guys are 26 and 24 years old. You know, Floyd Mayweather was 36, so it made sense that as the A side, let's get to it. That's not the case with Benavides and Morel. There's time to let Morel build himself up. There's time to let Benavides continue to grow into his prime and into his own, and then match them 2.5, 3 years from now when it's a big pay-per-view fight, not just another fight, you know, against a really talented but unproven kid against But the problem is for Benavides, you're not taking any steps back for a Christian Mabili type. So the only fight, if you're PBC and if you're David, you want to match him with is Charlo, Andrade, or Morel. And the problem is you probably want to match Charlo and Andrade against each other before you feed one or both of them to Benavides. So that leaves Morel as the odd man out. And I don't love how undercooked this fight is because I believe in both of their futures and it'll be a big fight in the future. But I'll take it. It is a great fight if we get it. You got to favor Benavides because he's entering his prime and Morel's still green. We'll see. Yeah, Canelo was like 40-0 when he fought Floyd. Indeed, he was. Canelo was really good when Floyd beat him. He just got a lot better. But Floyd still deserves a lot of credit for beating him. He was an older guy. He was the naturally smaller guy. I remember, you know, the feeling coming into that fight, Floyd-Canelo, was if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be this kid. And because by that point, Pacquiao had already been knocked out by Marquez, and so that kind of faded, that belief in Pacquiao. Even before Marquez knocked him out, the third Marquez fight where you saw Manny, even though he jumped up all these weight classes, he still couldn't deal well with a counterpuncher. That's when you kind of knew, okay, Floyd's probably going to win that fight. So when Canelo-Floyd happened, it was like, this guy has the best chance. If anyone's going to leave Mayweather without that it's going to be this kid. But ultimately, you know, Canelo had to learn something and now ever since then, not ever since then, but ever since the second Golovkin fight is when Canelo really discovered his identity. Because I picked Floyd to win that fight back in 2013 because I knew Canelo wasn't a true Mexican fighter yet in terms of he's not just going to put the gloves up, come forward, try to land the hook to the body. At that point, he was really a boxer-puncher, Canelo. And he fought in that style all the way up until the first Golovkin fight, and then he got a draw where most people thought he lost, and then that's when he discovered, I need to go forward. All this counterpunching I'm trying to do, all this slick skills, that's all well and good, but I need to do it going forward. I'm a strong Mexican fighter. What am I doing trying to box too much? use all those skills, but go forward. And that's what he learned in that second Golovkin fight, and that's when he really became prime peak Canelo and became the best fighter in boxing from September 2018 to November of 21, beating Plant, and then he lost the throne once Bivol knocked him off. But you know what? And you know, while I got your guys' ear, in boxing we do way too much black and white. In the world, period, right? It's black or white. It's like for Floyd Canelo, for example, here's black and white. On one side, Floyd beat a weight-trained young Canelo who was green, right? And then on the other side, man, I don't want to hear that. Canelo was 45-0 or something like that. He was the champion. He beat him, period. No, wasn't in his prime yet, nothing. The truth lies in the middle. Canelo was a unified champion. He was one of the top 10 pound for pound. He was the best super welterweight 154 pounder in the world. And Floyd beat him, and because it beat him easy, and he deserves a ton of credit for that. On the flip side, he got much better. He discovered himself in the years after that fight, went up to weight classes where he was a lot more effective than he was at 154. You know, this is how things usually work in reality, you know, and I know most of you in the chat know that. Mike Moz, thank you, man. When are one of the networks going to hire you? I don't know, but we got the biggest channel in the site right here, in the game right here, FightHype, so I'm going to keep rocking here with you guys. Shah of Anger says, Canelo's chin is battle-tested. David got dropped by a C-class fighter. Well, I'll tell you what. David ate that same double left hook that put Durrell's lights out. He ate that double left hook 3 or 4 times against Plant and walked right through it. And Plant has some pop. He has pop in the left hook. Not a puncher, but he has pop in the left hook. That's why he dropped Uzcategui twice and knocked out Durrell with that same punch. And Benavides walked right through it. And when you're bringing up that knockdown to Gavril, Benavides was only 10 months older than Canelo was when the ropes held him up from a left hook from Jose Cotto, Miguel Cotto's little brother. So Muhammad Ali got dropped early in his career against Henry Cooper, I believe his name was, and then he goes on to take flush shots from George Foreman and Sonny Liston once he grows into his, and Joe Frazier, once he grows into his full-grown man strength. Oscar De La Hoya against John Molina got knocked down when Oscar was at 130, had his skinny legs. But by the time he's fighting big guys like Trinidad and Vargas and Mosley, he's not touching the canvas. So, you know, I think Benavides has a good chin, and the time to keep bringing up that Gavril knockdown has passed. That's just my take. Let's see here. CW said, if Canelo got better after a loss, then why shouldn't Benavides fight Morrell? These guys fighting bums. Not going to get them ready for a big fight and a loss if you don't face the best. You're right, CW, and that's why I'm just saying for Benavides Morrell, man, feed one of these overpriced veterans to Benavides. Feed him Andrade, you know, a guy that is in his 30s. You don't feed him a 23-year-old, 24-year-old Morrell who's got his whole future in front of him and has a marketability upside. Nah, man, you feed the guy who don't sell any tickets anyways. That you know, you feed him Andrade. But I get it. It's you want to make Andrade and Charlo because they're both undefeated top American fighters who are good fighters. We know that, who both need a shot in the arm. You know, they don't have their stock isn't high right now, so you make them square off with each other, and like Benavides and Plant, there's bad blood there. There's a story there for us to sink our teeth into heading into the fight, and the winner of that fight gets a shot in the arm, and now a fight with Benavides has some luster. So I get it, but the Morrell fight is a good fight. It's a hell of a fight. It might be a great fight. It's just a little undercooked, but if it happens next, it's a tremendous fight for Benavides. I think it's a fight Canelo would acknowledge as meeting the mark. I just think it's too early. I think Morrell and Benavides have bright futures ahead, and they're a big pay-per-view fight if you give it time to build. But, you know, I'm of the belief, feed guys like Plant and Andrade and Charlo to Morrell and Benavides to build them up. There's your two guys, your two young thoroughbred horses in their 20s, not these guys in these 30s who are, you know, content and have been getting, you know, bloated checks. You know, not so much Plant, you know, he's been fighting the best as of late, but you know, so that's how I look at it. But, you know, that's why I'm sitting in this chair and I'm not a businessman running the business, running the sport, all that. So I think it's more likely that Charlo and Andrade square off at some point, and Benavides is more likely to have to fight Morrell in an undercooked but great fight. Great fight. What do you think? Who do you think would have won if GGG would have fought Floyd at 54? Dane, that's such a hard one. Triple G never competed at 54. I can't really answer that question. If I had got to see Triple G just once at 54 or Floyd once at 60, I could have gave you an answer. You know I love you, Dane. Give me another one, Dane. Give me another one. Give me one I can add. That one is just too hypothetical. The hypotheticals, they got to at least have been in the same weight class at some point, right? Sonia Dumas, great, always great to see you, Sonia. Does David Benavides have a 3-fight deal signed? He does. He completed the first fight, and he's got 2 more with them. So the quickest path to the fight happening, Sonia, would be David completes his second fight to finish 2023. Canelo completes his fight with Bivol in 2023, and then David, with 1 fight left on his PBC deal, and Canelo being a free agent after the Bivol fight, they can do what Canelo and Plant did: fight on PBC, sell more pay-per-views, and I don't particularly care about what network these fights happen on, although the best health for the sport is for the fights to be on whatever platform gets them the most views. And Canelo did get a lot more views fighting Plant on PBC Showtime than he did fighting Golovkin and Bivol on Matchroom DAZN in 2022. So I think Canelo at that point, free agent, Benavides still has 1 fight with Showtime PBC. Do what you did with Plant. Fight on Showtime PBC. Hell, fight at the same arena if you want, MGM Grand. And it goes down. So there's a real path to that fight happening. I get the hunch that if Benavides continues to impress, not just win, but continues to impress, that Canelo's game for next year at 68. Canelo already confirmed he's coming back to 68. Who else is he going to fight? There's only 1 fight that makes sense, Benavides. So that's what I think. So why are they saying Canelo's ducking, Sonia? Well, it goes 2 ways, Sonia. You get people on Twitter saying David is just talking shit because he knows he has his 3 fights already hashed out with PBC, so he's clout chasing. Him and his dad. So, some people put it on the Benavides camp. Other people will say Canelo's ducking. He wants to fight a rematch against a guy he knows he's not going to beat because he wants to duck the Mexican monster. Benavides and Canelo, to me, are 2 real fighters, 2 old school type fighters, 2 man's men. And I think they're going to mix it up next year, and I think it's going to live up to the hype, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's the fight of the year of 2024. Maybe we got to wait till 2025. I don't know, but I'm feeling like we're going to get that fight next year. Maybe that's the fan in me talking, wishful thinking, rather than the media guy who really understands how cynical this boxing business can be. But to me, in style, in temperament, Benavides and Canelo are 2 real fighters, and they're going to mix it up soon. That's the vibe I got yesterday in San Diego. So I don't think either one's ducking the other. I think Benavides or Canelo had an approach that, hey, before you put me in there with this 6'2 volume punching monster, let him actually do something first. He's began to do that, and so now he's not getting written off by Canelo, and so I think we're going to see it. You got it, Sonia, always. Sean, we want to see some of your amateur bouts, says B. Let me see. I actually got one of my old trophies. Where is it? Here it is. I lost the other 2 I had from my other 2 fights, but this is one of my trophies from 2006 when I competed. Got my little amateur fight in. I actually lost this fight, and I thought I won. The other 2 fights I did win and got the decision. I actually thought I won this fight too, but yeah. I don't have the only tape I had of an amateur fight. I had 2 separate tapes. Hasim Rahman Jr. recorded us sparring back the morning of the Super Bowl when the Colts beat the Bears in 2007, and then my man Edgar had my first fight on tape, but that was on like VHS back in the mid 2000s. Them shits are so gone now that I have no tape of my short-lived, not that successful amateur boxing career. So, Canelo should legit duck Beterbiev. 175 is too big in general, and Arthur is a freak. I kind of agree with that, CW, and that's why, he's mentioning Benavides and Bivol, but not mentioning Beterbiev. And he said he's coming back to 68 after 75. So it's not like... Another reason why I think the Benavides fight will happen, I don't think Canelo's going to look to fight Artur Beterbiev at 175. It's just too much size and strength, you know. And I have to eat my words. I was once on, you know, my man, the great show, the Porter Wade podcast, saying Canelo can make easy work or Beterbiev. Slap myself. That was a bad take. I rarely have them. I usually have really good takes. That was a bad take. You know, so... I think, yeah, I don't think he's looking Beterbiev's way. I think he's looking Benavidez' way after Bivol. So, Dane Sampson, my man, thank you. With the Pacquiao versus Valero, Pacquiao, Top Rank wanted to make that fight around the time Valero, you know, committed suicide, but that fight was heavily discussed by Top Rank. But Valero could have been a great 135 pounder. His ferocity was special in the ring. But we're talking about one of the top 10 or 15 greatest fighters that ever laced him up pound for pound. And Pacquiao, Dane, you got to take Pacquiao. Let me see here. Participation trophy, Mike. Why you got to do me like that? You know, I'm a millennial. America went soft by 2006. So, yeah, they gave me the participation trophy. I won that goddamn fight, by the way. I'm telling you. He was hit. That was one of the times I got a taste of what fighters go through, where if it's close, you don't feel like you just won. You felt like I won. And then you look at the tape and you see what the judges see. He kept hitting me on the gloves, right? And so I'm thinking I'm nailing him on the chin while he's catching me on the gloves. I'm winning. I go back and watch the tape. I see that when he's hitting me on the gloves, my hair's rattling around and sometimes my body's moving. And so I go, they thought he was getting off on me. Even though in the ring, he wasn't even landing nothing. And I was catching everything. It looks different on the outside than when you're in there. And that's why anytime it's close, fighters are so vehement that not only they won, they were robbed, you know. So, Dane, Morrell versus Plant, Morrell. You can't Plant has to have had his best fights behind him at this point now. I mean, it's just human nature. The body absorbs the kind of punishment he did against Canelo and Benavides. It'll be surprising if Plant can be 100% the same fighter he's always been. I expect he's still going to have juice in the tank. He's still going to be good. But I think a young guy like Morrell, even with a huge gap in experience, I think Morrell would beat Plant these days. You know, no, and yeah. So, me versus Jake Paul. I need a training camp. I need to put some muscle on. He's about 190. I'm 160. But I'll take that Jake Paul fight. And I'll walk him down, too. I'll walk him down behind the high guard, behind the jab, look to get inside and rip. You know, that's how I fight. But I definitely don't have no slickness or athleticism with reflexes and that. It's catch, come forward, you know. Zittel versus Zelenoff. You know, it was funny. Once you hit Charlie Zelenoff in the chin, all of a sudden he malfunctions and goes bitch instead of crazy. But until you touch that chin, Charlie Zelenoff throws some nice windmill combinations that got some explosiveness on him. I would have to, you know, navigate them helicopter punches and then touch him to get his ass to calm down. But Zelenoff might not be as easy as we think. The Brotherhood Sports said I knocked out Boots in the amateurs. I seen it myself. You're right. You were there. We don't have it on tape, but it happened, right, Brotherhood Sports? Sonia Dumas, exactly. Canelo will fight David Benavides because he knows the people want that. And that's what I think, so I agree with you at the end of the day. Don't you think Bivol must request a fight at 168 and Canelo could beat him there? Nah, man, Canelo's not going out like that. If I can't beat him, I can't beat him. If I can't beat him at 175, I'm not going to bring him down to 68 and try to finesse it. If I can't beat him, I can't beat him. That's how Canelo's approaching Bivol. You know, that's how I see it. He's every time we've asked him about 68, he said, no, it's going to happen at 75. So, do I get bored of the undisputed boxing game? No, Jai. I'm just waiting for more fighters to come out. I was contemplating finishing this live with some Canelo gameplay, but I'm a little tired, man, a little beat from all this traveling lately. We got the Anthony Joshua round by round coming up Saturday afternoon, so I might just chill. Make sure I got water this time. Jose Lopez. I wasn't fucking around the stream. Not after that last one. Raider Reaper said a lot of people don't understand pride and honor, Sean. I agree, Raider, and that's why you see all this dysfunction and no civility on social media. People calling each other all these names, being so disrespectful to each other when, it is part of what you're talking about, Raider Reaper. Raphael says Canelo will wait until Benavides can't beat the scale and is forced out of the division. No way he fights Benavides. Raphael, what you said was echoed by Al Bernstein. And Al Bernstein, forget it, Hall of Famer, knows his boxing as good as anybody. And he felt that Canelo, he said today on Twitter, Canelo will never fight David Benavides. I don't think so, man. I got the vibe I got from that man yesterday was, I hear what you guys, I felt a guy who was starting to get that fire built in him for the task. Whereas before it was, well, no mama's way. Will you guys stop bringing this guy up, because y'all build up everybody that's undefeated with a record. Now it's, okay, he's a good fighter, and it's a good fight. This is what you guys want. Okay, I'm hearing that, and so I think it's going to go down. What was that? Do Caleb's impersonation again? I don't know, man. I gotta feel it. It's like, David, who do you think will win Canelo versus Benavides? I don't know. That's a really good fight. Shout out to both guys. They both did good. But right now I'm focused on me and where my career is headed right now. So yeah, I think that's the prediction we get out of Plant for Benavides Canelo. Boxing debate between you and Max Kellerman. Who wins? Right now, me. In his prime, I still got some work to do to catch a prime Max Kellerman. That Friday night fights, Max Kellerman in the studio with Brian Kenny, I'm a humble guy. Still got some work to do to get to that level. But right now, a distracted Max Kellerman who's covering the NBA and the NFL, and he's got a family, he don't got time to catch every fight. I should be able to beat him right now. So, but shout out to Max, man, one of the GOATs. Junior Garcia says, Sean, calm the fuck down. What am I doing, man? Where'd I get too turned up at, Junior? Set me straight. What happened? Cruz versus Frank Martin. Frank Martin, Dane. Frank can match a lot of the physical strength and power of Cruz, but he's so much longer, an assortment of skills. He can walk you into shots. He can lead. He's faster than Cruz. Cruz is a legit contender for any lightweight in the world. I like Pitbull Cruz, but Frank Martin all day over Pitbull Cruz. Although we don't know how he would hold up to the pressure. We've never seen Frank Martin face that kind of pressure before. Some guys, even if they're more skilled and talented, once that pressure comes on, not everyone reacts to it well. But I would favor Martin. More versatile, complete, athletic, speedier guy. Raider Reaper, thank you, my man, for the super chat. Are Benavides' other two fights, Morrell and Charlo? Thank you for the super chat, Raider. It's Morrell and Andrade. It's not Morrell and Charlo. There's no way Charlo is gonna be put into the ring with Benavides after a 2-year layoff, having never competed at 168 pounds, and then you throw him in there with the prime, fresh Mexican monster, best fighter at 168 pounds. Well, actually, Canelo is. He's the undisputed champ, but after him, it's Benavides. So the two options are actually Morrell and Andrade. There is, I think, a slight chance that they put Andrade in there with Benavides, but I feel like it's more likely the PBC will look to match Andrade and Charlo with one another, and Benavides will have to wind up facing Morrell. And again, in a fight that's undercooked, but is a great fight. Morrell is the only super middleweight who can match the size of Benavides, and his feet could be a big problem for David. He has some really tricky feet, David Morrell. He's just green. He's green, and because of that, I favor Benavides to win the fight. And it might be smart on Benavides and Sampson's part getting him now. Guys like Devin Haney and Benavides have told guys in their division when they were coming up, you guys should fight me now. You better get me now, because it's a wrap for you once I develop at the championship level, right? That's what Devin was telling Lomachenko today in L.A. And maybe that's what Sampson is doing. He knows the bright future David Morrell has in front of him, and he knows that, unlike David, he's not just powerful up top. He's got some feet below him, and those feet could cause problems the more and more he develops. Let's get him now when he's green, when he's still a puppy, because and Morrell, I think even if he loses a stoppage against Benavidez, I know he's going to hold his own, and I think he could still have an incredibly bright future post a loss to Benavidez. And if he beats Benavidez, forget it. You know, the sky's the limit for him with the Cuban market. So yeah. Life and Logic says Morrell will test Benavidez in the first half. I agree. Morrell will test Benavidez. He's just a tremendous talent, and he's big. So that's a tough fight for David. But maybe Sampson is saying, let's get him now while he's green. That might be smart. Boxing Analyst says, would I like to see Hearn versus Ellerby? I would like. I know I've dealt with both of them personally, and so I'd like for them to just continue to have fun and compete and not actually fist fight each other. That's a style clash. Ellerby is going to be the short, stocky guy looking to get underneath and get on the inside. Hearn is got some decent hand work. You can tell he's been in the gym. Hearn will look to keep Ellerby on the outside. So style matchups, clash of styles. Swavey04, thank you, my man. For the super chat. Would Benavides versus Andrade go the same as Plant? I think Benavides would have a less tough time with Andrade because Andrade isn't as young and isn't as young as Plant, and Andrade putting this weight on throughout his career from 54 to 60 to 68. His legs are heavier and can't produce the same movement as they did years ago at 54. So I actually think Benavides would stop Andrade, whereas Plant, with his feet and everything, was able to go the distance. I think Andrade, after 4 or 5 rounds, he really tapers off, and his legs aren't what they were at 60 and definitely not what they were at 54. He's made adjustments to his style. He's trying to crack with that left hand, kind of doing the Kobe Bryant. I can't elevate like I did before, so let me make up for it in other ways. I can't glide around the ring like before. Let me make up for it in other efficient ways. That's what I see Andrade doing. He's making adjustments as a veteran. But I just think Benavides would stop Andrade at this point at 168 pounds. So I actually think Andrade wouldn't be as competitive as Plant. I think he'd get off to a solid start, but not the kind of borderline, dominant start Plant was off to through 4 or 5 rounds. And I think, unlike Plant, I don't think he survives because his feet aren't going to hold up for as long as Plant did. So that's my take on Benavides and Andrade. Sonia, did David Benavides do as good as you thought in the Plant fight? He didn't, Sonia. I think he made that fight a lot tougher on himself by not using his jab. I said in the breakdowns for that fight that if he starts with his jab, after the 3rd round, he'll take control and he'll win by stoppage in a round or 2 sooner than Canelo. But he didn't start with his jab. And I said before the fight, if David is reaching for power shots, Caleb is going to do the you reach, I teach. You're going to reach and you're going to get countered. And he's going to make the fight a lot harder than himself if he's trying to take Plant's head off with power shots and not starting the fight with the jab. He had to match the jab of Plant early, and he didn't, and Plant was banking those rounds. Once Plant began to fade and Benavides made a couple adjustments, started countering the counterpuncher, started countering Caleb when Caleb would try to get off first and jump in. And then David put on an exhibition on when trainers say, you got to punch out of the clinch, you got to fight out of the clinch. David Benavides put on a fucking seminar on how to fight out of the clinch. So he began to counter the counterer, Plant faded, and he began to be brutal fighting out of the clinch, and that turned it away in a dominant way for Benavides. But he didn't. I actually thought he'd perform a little better because statistically he has one of the best jabs in boxing. When I watch him fight, he has a great jab. The jab was almost non-existent until towards the end. When he didn't even really need it anymore. So I felt David did make that fight a lot tougher on himself in the first half by not beginning with the jab. And part of me wonders if it's because that animus towards Plant, and part of me thinks you're actually going to get a more dangerous Benavides against Bivol and Canelo and Beterbiev because it's going to be a respectful kind of clash of personalities in the lead-up. And so David will be functioning more off his boxing brain instead of his rah-rah, I want to take this motherfucker's head off and send him to the hospital and break his jaw. And I actually think David approaching a fight in a more respectful manner against Canelo and Bivol will pay off for him, like using his jab, So that's my take on it. Let's see. Bully Block Boxing says he couldn't land the jab without getting countered, bro. Good point, Bully Block. And Caleb just out-jabbed him. Props to Caleb Plant. That was Caleb Plant doing that. But even when you're being out-jabbed or countered, you can't give up on the jab. And he gave up on the jab fairly. Again, that's so easy from where I'm sitting. Okay, you throw a jab, Sean. Boom, boom. Oh, see how you don't want to throw it anymore? That's what's happening to the fighter, that you keep yelling to use the jab. I get that. But as excellent a jab as Benavidez has, he can't get away from it like he did against Plant. That's something him and his dad got to check in the future. And it's harder to do it against a moving target. Someone like Canelo, and slick as can be, but in front of you, that jab will be there, and Canelo will look to get underneath it and take advantage of it and kill the body of Benavidez. Benavidez and Canelo kind of comes down to, if Benavidez can withstand Canelo in the first 6 or 7, and if he could take those body shots, then I think Benavidez could come on strong and really wear Canelo out in the late part of the fight. Like, when Canelo wore down against Bivol still just touched him, got him on the ropes, never committed to anything because he didn't want to get countered. He just touch, run his hands. Canelo was too tired to reply, and so Bivol banked rounds that way. Canelo gets tired like that against Benavidez, he's going to get hurt. He's not just going to lose rounds. Benavidez is a different type of animal offensively in terms of the chances he'll be willing to take. He'll lay some real leather on Canelo late in that fight if Canelo gasses like he did against Bivol. So I think in that fight, Canelo-Benavidez, I think that's a great fight. I think it's going to live up to our expectations, and I think the first half of the fight is Canelo, and the second half of the fight is Benavidez. If it goes to the cards, it's going to depend, how dominant was that first half for Canelo, how dominant was that second half for Benavidez. That's how I see that fight going. Alex Perez says Canelo has better stamina than Plant. He does. He knows how to pace himself better. Stamina, jab, and speed are all for Benavidez, yes. But Canelo has the accuracy. Canelo has the defense. Canelo has the IQ. And punching power is about a wash. It's about even. But I think punch for punch, Canelo consistently is cracking a little bit harder than David because he commits to every single shot, whereas Benavidez will throw the quick shot. He'll fast, boom, and finish with the hard one. I think if they both let out their single hardest shot, Benavidez might edge it by a hair because he's just so big. And his punches have a little more zip and speed on them right now. But the consistent 3 minutes of every round, punch after punch power, I edge it to Canelo because he's sitting down and cracking on every shot. And he's more accurate than Benavidez. And he's got a better defense than Benavidez. And he's smarter than Benavidez. But Benavidez is younger than him. He's bigger than him. He's got better stamina than him. So, and punch is a wash. So that fight is 50-50. And it comes down to, do you give the edge to the smarter veteran in Canelo with the better defense, or do you give the edge to the younger guy who's got a better gas tank and maybe is a little hungrier at this stage in their careers than Benavidez? I can't wait to find out. I think we'll be lucky enough to find out next year. So, man, that's about it I got right now. That's about all I got for you guys on that. It was great to cover Canelo. If there's anything else you guys want to touch on, maybe some of you wanted to see some Undisputed to close out, but honestly, chat, a lot of people leave once we start playing Undisputed. Maybe I could close with some Undisputed. Let me know, chat. Let's see. Mr. Martin said Canelo's shin is proven. Benavidez is unproven. It still remains a little unproven, but it passed some tests with the pop of Caleb Plant's left hand. And you wouldn't expect Plant to be able to put out a big guy like Benavidez. But I think the jury is still out on Benavidez if he has a granite chin. You can only answer that taking punches from someone like a puncher like Canelo or Bivol or Beterbiev. But I do think he's silenced any questions that he's chinny. He's not chinny. If he was chinny, Plant would have at least got a reaction out of one of those left hooks. So I think we could safely say Benavidez isn't chinny. Does he have a granite Mexican chin? Only way to find that out is when he really faces a puncher, But I liked what I saw from his chin. Raider Reaper, Loma versus Haney. Thoughts? Haney's bigger, younger, fresher, ascending in his skill. He's going to be a full-fledged welterweight one day. Lomachenko started at 126. I think Loma will be able to do some of the things that Jojo Diaz, a southpaw of similar stature, was able to do. Jojo landed a lot of left hands in about 4 or 5 rounds against Haney. I just think Haney learned from that fight, and he's going to be a better fighter from then. So I just expect Haney to win a unanimous decision, 117, 111, about around that area. Best case scenario is Lomachenko comes out like he did for Nakatani, and we have a really great fight. But I think it's more likely that Lomachenko has some success in some rounds, but for the most part, it's going to be the length, the youth, the activity, the speed of Devin Haney that wins a unanimous decision in clearer fashion than Salido or Lopez were ever able to do against Lomachenko. That's my early prediction. Let's see. Favorite chicken dance in a fight? Asked boxing analyst. I'm going to say what Cotto's legs did against DeMarcus Corley in Puerto Rico. When Chop Chop Corley buzzed Miguel Cotto, he looked like a horse in the stable out off balance. His legs went all kinds of directions. So look up that clip if you want to see a funny fighter doing the chicken dance in a fight. Alex Perez says Loma is going to slip them jabs like butter. Loma has the best defense when coming in. I think the guy with the best defense when coming in is the guy we were talking about for over an hour. That's Canelo Alvarez. But Lomachenko has great defense coming in too. And it will be interesting to see if, that southpaw against orthodox where their 2 lead hands are always competing, if maybe Lomachenko could take that jab away and make Devin start to look for straight right hands instead. So we'll see. Breza Jamishi, did David Benavides overtrain himself? It was the first time I saw he was tired in championship rounds and no combinations. Could be that. It could be that he's sucking down to 68 when he's really a 75, and that showed up in late rounds. Could be because it was his first time fighting at that elite level. But in terms of did he overtrain himself, that's a very good possibility because a lot of these guys overtrain themselves now. Because the great trainers, Emmanuel Stewart said, you only need 6 weeks, 8 weeks tops to get ready for a fight. These guys are training for 3 or 4 months sometimes because they only fight once or twice a year. So overtrained is always a problem, potential problem in today's sport. Wow, I got a super chat from my man Domingo Bonilla. Sean, I'm a fan. Keep doing your thing and keep covering this beautiful sport we call boxing. Thank you for all that you do. It doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you, my man. Thank you, Domingo. Because sometimes I don't know if it does go unnoticed. They run with your boy, these boxing websites and channels. They'll use my interview, all the time and never mention me. So I don't even know if sometimes people are knowing that I do a lot of these interviews and all that. So I appreciate that, Domingo. Appreciate that. Let's see. Brotherhood Sports said Benavides is always tired late in the fight, but his fights barely ever go late. That's the catch. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Something to look out for. Let's see. So yeah, guys, that's about all I got for you today. Hit the like button if you were in the chat. We could appreciate that for sure. And I think we'll call it a day, man. I'm a little tired. I'm going to chill. I'm going to check back in with you guys Saturday afternoon for Joshua Franklin. Haney Lomachenko wrapped up in LA today. If you want my thoughts on that, check out the live from a day or two ago. Skip the first 4 minutes because my dumb ass had my mic on mute. But yeah, check it out. Morrell versus Canelo. Who wins? Canelo, right? You got to get the edge of Canelo. Morrell's green right now. That's why I got to pick Canelo or Benavidez. I think Morrell could beat Plant right now, but Morrell's green. But he's got a very bright future at going forward at light heavyweight and at super middleweight. What do I think of the fight between Richardson, Hitchens, and Prograis? Oof. Hitchens is going to be hit like he's never been hit before, but he has the speed and the skills to pull it off. But, man, he's fighting a grown man. A grown man who fights with a grown man style in Prograis. Prograis not fighting in that amateur style like Richardson Hitchens. He's cracking. I don't expect that fight to happen soon, but I wouldn't count Hitchens out in that fight. I just think Hitchens needs some more seasoning. He needs to fight some more strong grown men before jumping up 3, 4, 5 levels against Prograis. Did I think the Haney press conference was dry? Yeah, but, I mean, we expected that. Lomachenko isn't going to talk a whole bunch of crazy shit. thought it was interesting that Bill Haney and talked about them fighting for their independence, that this is their last fight with Top Rank, and maybe we could do future. Hopefully, we do future in the business in the future. But I'm curious where Haney goes after this. If he re up with Top Rank and looks to fight Shakur at 35, or move up to 40 and fight the winner of T.O. and Taylor, or if he says, I got to go after the fight, Tank Davis. Should Tank Davis beat Ryan Garcia? That's the biggest pay-per-view fight. That's the fight that holds the keys to stardom. So Devin's got a decision to make, because I think if he did stays with Top Rank, he'll get Stevenson and T.O. like that, if he so chooses and pleases. But PBC, I think he'd have to wait a little bit. I think he'd have to take a couple fights, build himself up. Because PBC making all that money with Tank, they wouldn't want to feed him to Haney, who stands a great chance of beating him and putting a halt to that. They'd at least want Haney to build up a little bit more marketability-wise, so that if he does beat Tank, they can replace Tank's fan base with Haney. So, Brandon Hall says, do we get Spence versus Crawford, or do we get Spence versus Thurman? Oof, put me on the spot. Thank you for the super chat, Brandon Hall. Oof, good question. You know what? We're being optimistic today. We're saying Canelo Benavides is going to happen in 2024. Thurman and Spence, if it was going to happen, wouldn't they have announced it by now? I mean, that's a fight that's been in the works for a long time. June 17th has been floated as the date. Showtime wants some real numbers. I'll see. I don't even believe it in my heart when I say it, but I'll say we get Spence Crawford instead of Spence Thurman. I'll say we get Spence Crawford. It's taken an awful long time to announce and finalize a fight that has been rumored to be being made for months now. Thurman and Spence. Things went real quiet on the Crawford Golden Boy talks, and then Rocha got mandated as the WBO, and it's been real quiet over there about all that. There's rumors on boxing Twitter that indeed negotiations have restarted between Crawford and Spence. I'll say we get Crawford Spence instead of Spence Thurman. As I say it, there's a voice in my head saying, really, Sean, you're going to say that dumb shit knowing how this business works? But there's some signs pointing towards that Crawford Spence has life. I'll say it happens. I'll say Errol and Terrence are feeling left out. They're seeing Benavides get this shine with Plant. Canelo's always got shine. They're seeing Tank and Ryan get some shine. They're seeing Fulton go overseas to fight Japan, and they're saying, what the fuck are we doing here? So, and then, Spence has said he never wanted to fight Thurman. I'll say we get Spence Crawford. And then the other super chat, Blind Faith. Blind Faith, good to see you again, my man. My top 5 pound-for-pound fighters, men and women. Oof, put me on the spot. For women, it's number 1 is Shields, Clarissa Shields. Number 2 is Katie Taylor. Number 3 is Alicia Baumgardner. Number 4 is Amanda Serrano. And number 5 is Sinisa Estrada. That one was easier. That's why I started with the girls. Men, let me first list them in no order, and then I'll try to order them. Usyk, gets tough. It's a little tougher with the men. Usyk, Inoue, Crawford. I still want to put Alvarez in there, even though he took the L to Bivol. I still want to put Alvarez in there. After those 3, you start thinking of Canelo. You start thinking of Jermell Charlo. You start thinking of Stevenson and Haney. You start thinking of Tank, Fury, Beterbiev, Spence, Stephen Fulton, Benavidez. So, the top, I could give you 10. It's harder to. There's not a lot of. Look, the problem is there's not a lot of separation between. There's not a lot of separation between these guys, between Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, and Spence, and Charlo, and Stevenson, and Haney, and Beterbiev, and it's not that much separation. It's not like there is no Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather at the top of the list. 5, 6, 7, 8 divisions. You know, there is no Roy Jones been from middleweight to heavyweight, been pound for pound for a decade. It's a lot tighter on the pound for pound list. I feel like since Canelo lost to Bivol, it's really vacant. And if you put Usyk up there, I get it, because he became undisputed at cruiserweight, then he beats Joshua to win 3 belts at heavyweight. I get it, but I feel like it's kind of vacant right now. And if Usyk could beat Fury, that would be undisputed number 1 pound for pound. If Inoue could beat Fulton, that would be he's undisputed number 1 pound for pound. If Crawford could beat Spence, he's undisputed number 1 pound for pound. But those, you know, right now I feel like it's kind of vacant. All the names I just named give you my pound for pounders. So, sorry, Blind Faith. It's hard for me to really whittle them down into just 5 when it's close. These guys haven't really separated. They're not like Mayweather and Pacquiao, who are head and shoulders above the rest. Roy Jones, who is head and shoulders above the rest. You know, Canelo, once he went on his run after beating Golovkin up until Plant, he was putting himself head and shoulders above the field with activity, with weight classes and titles won and level of performance. He separated himself. Since Bivol knocked him off, I feel like it's really kind of vacant. You know, for the longest time, I would put Crawford there, but Crawford, you know, he needs that Spence fight to prove it once and for all. Vice versa for Spence with Crawford. I think Inoue, if he could beat Fulton, he's number 1 pound for pound. Going all the way up to 122 and beating a borderline top 10 pound for pound guy himself in Stephen Fulton, that would be the kind of, you know, or if Canelo can beat Bivol, I think, you know, he could re-earn his spot at number 1. So we'll see. Mike Ma says, do I think Fury really wants the Usyk fight? Yeah, I don't think he has any qualms about getting in the ring with Usyk. I think negotiations fell apart. The Saudis withdrew their money. Team Usyk kept insisting on 50-50 when, in my opinion, they don't deserve 50-50. Fury is Fury, and he deserves 55 or 60% of the pot. So I blame Team Usyk for digging their heels in on 50%, and I blame Fury, you know, for being tough in negotiations as well. I don't really blame Usyk much. I think he kind of just let his business people take care of it, and the fight didn't come together. But I don't really just I think Alex K, who manages Usyk, came out today and said, "Don't hate Fury. It's not his fault. We walked away from the fight." You know, so who's got the better resume, King or Arum? Oof, tough. I'm tempted to say King because King thought outside of the box with the Rumble in the Jungle and the Thrilla in Manila. You know, the Rumble in the Jungle was just going to be another fight at Madison Square Garden. Arum already had that fight ready to go and was ready to deliver it to Ali. And it wasn't until Don King, being innovative and being a creative genius, said, "Look, champ, you could win the heavyweight title in Africa in front of your people." And Ali was sold, you know. But that was King being a genius, thinking outside the box, you know. King is the one who put Julio Cesar. King is what brought Mexican boxing to the next level, because he decided to take a guy by the name of Julio Cesar Chavez and promote him and to put him on some of the co-headliners with a guy named Mike Tyson and blew him up on a national stage. King was a little more creative, was more of a creative genius than Bob Arum. Bob Arum outlasted Don King and had more longevity and success than Don King. But Don King at his peak was a more creative genius than Bob Arum. Domingo Bonilla, thank you for the super chat, my man, said, "I went to school with Amanda. Funny, I bumped into her Saturday at the gas station. Her aunt lives right across the street from me." Yeah, and that's cool, man. Bonilla, are you Boricua, my man? Domingo Bonilla, like Bobby Bonilla? That's cool that you got to run into her. It sounds like she was cool to you. Well, you said her tia, her aunt, lives across the street from you. I'm sure Amanda still visits her. And Amanda's been holding it down for the island, man. She's been holding it down for Puerto Rico since that man Miguel Cotto retired. You know, Xander Zayas, he's in the driver's seat. He looks like he's gonna maybe be that next in line, that torch bearer that you've been waiting for since Cotto hung him up. But in the meantime, Serrano held it down for Puerto Rico. So shout out to Amanda Serrano for that. Yeah, CW. Yeah, you know, it's awkward. It was an awkward sentence to get out. I did the best I could. Steven said, Two questions, man. Do you think Plant bounces back strong from this L? And how do I see Lopez versus Taylor? I think Plant will bounce back and still has something to give the sport. But I think it's almost unrealistic to expect him to be the same fighter he was last Saturday, because the human body can only take so much. He took a lot of punishment down the stretch. That was the kind of level of punishment, those last 6 or 7 rounds, that can change a fighter. So I almost feel like it's unrealistic to expect Plant to be the same force he was against Benavides last Saturday. But with how mentally strong he is and how much he keeps himself in shape, I imagine he's still going to have some gas left in the tank. But I do think he doesn't beat a young guy like Morrell at this stage. I think he could still beat Andrade. I think he could still beat Charlo, because Charlo would have to be moving up from 60, and the feet of Plant could give him problems. Charlo likes to have his feet set. And then Andrade, Andrade's a tough fight for Plant, but I think Plant can still come out on top on that one because he's a natural 68, and Andrade started at 54. So, and then the other question was Lopez and Taylor. I'm going to take Lopez in a slight upset, because as good a fighter as Taylor is, he's tall but doesn't use his height. He's this tall Scotsman who likes to fight. He likes to bang, and when you like to bang, that lets Lopez play counterpuncher. That's what he's actually really good at. I know the knockouts sold the takeover, but Lopez is really a natural counterpuncher, and that's when he's at his most dangerous. So if Taylor obliges Lopez and tries to make it a firefight, and allows Lopez to sit back and have the counterpunching opportunities, I think Lopez can pull off a bit of an upset and get himself back on the right track. I'll give the edge to Lopez, who I think is a more naturally gifted fighter than Josh Taylor. It's just Taylor's a natural 140-pounder. He's taller, he's bigger. But I think Lopez is blessed with more speed, power, and reflexes. And stylistically, when he's allowed to play counterpuncher, that's when he's able to display all those attributes. So I'll give the edge to Lopez. Faster hands at 140, Oscar or Ryan? Asked Rizwan Hussein. I'm going to say faster functional hands, De La Hoya. Ryan, because Oscar, I'm going to say Oscar. Even the speed's even, but I say Oscar, the hands, the pure speed's probably about even, maybe even Ryan by a slightest of margins, because De La Hoya was blazing fast at that time. But De La Hoya's speed is so much more functional and well placed. He had a great jab. So I give the edge to De La Hoya. De La Hoya would have beat him, Do I think Prograis would have beaten Ramirez if the fight got made? Dane Sampson. Yeah, I give the edge to Prograis. I would have given the edge to Prograis. Brotherhood Sports, my point exactly. Brotherhood Sports says Lopez will beat Taylor. Taylor will walk into shots. I think so too, but I do feel like Taylor will be cognizant of people like us saying that, and he may try to make a little more use of his height, but that's never been his style. He's this fiery Scotsman who likes to go toe-to-toe. I think that can play into Lopez's hands. We'll see. But Lopez isn't mentally all there right now. So, we don't know. He might not hold up to the pressure and the pace of Taylor. We'll see. He has to be mentally right. Yo, my man Domingo with the super chat again. Thank you, Domingo. Appreciate that, my man. Yes, I'm Boricua. I live in Bushwick out there in Brooklyn. Xander is going to be a problem. I see him being that next guy out of Puerto Rico. I think Plant can beat more. Lopez can beat Morrell. You think Plant can beat Morrell. And I get it. Morrell is super green. And Caleb was fighting a masterpiece for 4 or 5 rounds against Benavides. So, maybe he could school the young pup. Morrell, I just think Morrell, he's got good feet too. He's got speed. He's got power. He's got size. He's got ambition. I just think at this stage, it's a dangerous fight for Morrell. He might get his ears boxed off by the vet. But I would pick Morrell. And then lastly, you said Lopez can only beat himself mentally, and I got Ryan winning. You got Ryan winning? Are you sure you're not falling into the Latino love, my brother, Domingo Bonilla? You should go. Ryan's got a great chance. Anytime you're blessed with the things God either hands out when you're born or does it. Speed, power, and size. The 3 things you can't teach. The Lord bless Ryan with. So he's got a chance against Tank. But Tank got that. He don't got the height like Ryan, but size or speed and power. Tank's got that too, and he's just so much more complete. Defense to offense, countering, punching in between punches, punch selection and arsenal. Defense. I give it to Tank, but we'll see. Ryan has a great chance because of the attributes he's blessed with. He could pull it off. Thank you, Steven, for the super chat. Appreciate that, man. 2 more, man, because you got a crazy mind for boxing. Do I think Fulton can upset Inoue, and can Ryan clip Davis? Ryan can clip Davis. To Davis gives away early rounds. Take those early rounds. Don't give him that. Don't let him figure out that left hook by throwing it out there a bunch early. Use the straight right hand at long range when Tank is coasting on the outside early and trying to figure things out. Bank those rounds. Take what the defense gives you, and then when Tank needs to open up in the second half of the fight and close distance and takes more chances, that's when maybe you could walk him into the hook. That's the path to victory for Ryan. Can Fulton upset Inoue? Absolutely. He could just box a perfect fight. He's very capable of that. Fulton showed against Angelo Leo and against Brandon Figueroa, he's a Philly dude that could hold his own on the inside. But he's super skilled on the outside, fast, great feet, great gas tank. He could throw 100 punches for over 12 rounds. He could do it. So he could beat Inoue by getting off first in the center of the ring, being the busier fighter while Inoue looks to load up on power shots and drive him to the ropes. He can walk Inoue into shots and then surprise him and hold his own on the inside when he's forced to. Fight a perfect fight over in Japan and beat the monster. He's capable of it. I just think fighting on the road, I think he's going to have more success against Inoue than any other fighter has, including Donaire. I don't think he's going to hurt Inoue the way Donaire did with that left hook, but he's going to win more rounds than Donaire did in that first fight. Donaire only won 2 or 3 rounds. I think Fulton's going to win about 5, maybe even 6, but maybe 7, and just not get the decision in Japan because it's close. But I just think Inoue wins that fight because he's got a little bit of that Pacquiao factor where it's like, yeah, he's coming forward, yeah, he's aggressive, yeah, you're walking him into shots, yeah, you're touching him, he's not amazing defensively. But when those waves, those explosions come, it can be devastating. And it could take away rounds where you were touching him up for 2 minutes and then all of a sudden he touches you and your legs do a funny dance on the ropes and now you just gave up the round that you were in control in. So I see Inoue winning a highly competitive decision in Japan against Fulton. But Fulton, he's a tremendous fighter. Could fight on the inside, could fight on the outside. Philly tough, smart as hell, fast. So Fulton could get it done. But if Inoue gets it done, he's number 1 pound for pound. Domingo Bonilla. Again, Domingo, man, you spending all your money, brother. Thank you. You don't got to do. I appreciate it, but you don't got to do that, brother. I don't know if Rollies did that to Tank. Imagine what Ryan can do. I think Ryan learned a lot from the Rollies fight and won't commit the same mistakes. You might be right, man. You might be right. You may indeed be right. Rollies awkward and is underrated talent-wise. Rolly, is so raw and crude. But talent-wise, again, the stuff God either blesses you with or he doesn't. He's blessed, man. He's a blessed athlete in terms of explosiveness and reflexes. Rolly got some talent, That's why, despite being as crude as he is, he's been in a big fight like Tank, and he's fighting for the WBA title at 140, in May. So it's different styles. Rolly was fearless. We don't know if Ryan will be as fearless as Rolly. Different temperaments. Rolly was fearless. Rolly was awkward. Rolly took the fight to Tank. I think thank you, my man. Just giving you your flowers in the form of dollar bill. I appreciate it. And Domingo, you're probably good to keep donating super chats because you probably get that money back home in New York. So you probably can afford this and that. So you're good. But I really appreciate it, brother. Yeah, it's different styles, and Rolly was fearless, and he took the fight to Tank. So we'll see it. We'll see that. I think Ryan. It's different temperaments. Ryan isn't afraid of Tank. He believes he's going to knock him out, but I don't think he'll fight as fearless as Rolly Rolly fought with no respect for Tank. And I think there will be respect for both guys not wanting to make a mistake. That's why I don't think Ryan and Tank's going to be fought at some crazy pace. I think it's going to be a slow-paced fight with lots of tension and suspense, and it'll end in a knockout. But I don't think you get no Morales, Barrera, Corrales, Castillo, Bo Holyfield type exchanges. I don't think the other guy is going to be left standing after too many clean shots land. So this fight is going to be fought at a slow pace, very tense, where it feels like the knockout could come from either side at any moment, and it will happen at some point, you know, whether it's Tank or Ryan. That's how I see that fight going. I favor Tank. So, man, that's about it. That's about all I got from you guys. I think I've shot off all the game I can offer for today. You guys are awesome for rocking with us in the chat. And I guess that'll be it, man. That'll be it. I'm going to chill. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this Thursday. I'm going to get ready for Saturday. Check back in with us for Joshua and Franklin. I know my man Frankie down in LA has gotten us a ton of footage. I'm going to be checking it out once I log off here. I'm going to check out all the Lomachenko-Haney press conference footage today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, man. If you just joined in late, rewind back earlier for my notes on Canelo's Media Day, what it means for him in September against Bivol, what it means for Benavides. Just check it out. Domingo, thank you again. Domingo got money, guys. Domingo with another super chat for the 5 says the respect factor is what's going to win him the fight. You might be right, Domingo. You're right. You know, it's good to respect your opponent in boxing. Never be afraid of him, but to respect him. And maybe Davis, to your point, isn't as respectful of Ryan as Ryan is of Tank. You know, he says all you are is a left hook. You're not a complete fighter. You could read into that, Bonilla, Domingo, as him underestimating his opponent. And then once he gets in the ring and, oh shit, this kid is it. Because Tank even said he don't know if he's really fast like that. Tank, that's where you're wrong. The speed is real with Garcia. And I think speed for speed, Ryan's a little faster than Tank, which is really saying something because Tank is fast. But I think Tank is just more accurate and has better timing. So he'll negate the slight speed advantage for Ryan. But maybe you're right. You know, him thinking Ryan's just a left hook and a pretty boy with his chin up, he winds up getting more than that in the ring, and it takes him time to adjust, whereas Ryan knows he's fighting, you know, a killer and is treating him as such the whole time. Maybe you're right, Domingo. We'll see. So, Molly Mall, glad to be doing it for you. Peace out, Weedy Gonzalez. Peace out, Mike Moz. Mike Moz, good to have you in the chat. I hope we have you back. You were kicking it with some of the regulars in the chat. Jesus M, great to see you. Sean, has Canelo earned more than Beterbiev to fight Bivol at 175? Oh, obviously not. No. You know, obviously the fight in terms of substance at 175 is Beterbiev and Bivol, but Bivol's got a family to feed, and Canelo, it's not like oh, he's fighting Canelo because he's just no. Canelo was fresh off being the number 1 pound for pound fighter in the world. He's still a great fighter, so it's still a great fight for Bivol. It's not like he's ducking Beterbiev. You got to go ahead and get that money. And not only do you got to get that money, but the pound for pound king always deserves a second chance at redemption. So you got to give him his rematch. And then after that, for both of them, win or lose for Bivol or for Canelo, or they got to move on. Bivol to Beterbiev and Canelo to Benavides back at 75 and 68. So, Johnny's World of Boxing said that's all talk. Why else would he drain him? Well, that might be his team thinking it, because even if you think, Johnny, that is all he has is a left hook, you want to drain that left hook because it's a pretty fucking good left hook, right? But you might be right. It might just be all talk to sell the fight. I don't think it affects Tank in training at all. I think Tank is training at 110%. But it could affect you in the ring when that straight right hand zaps you and knocks your head back. You know that? So we'll see. But thank you, Johnny's World of Boxing. Thank you, everybody, today. I hope you guys all enjoyed the live. Everyone have a great rest of the weekend. Check back in with me Saturday afternoon for Joshua Franklin. And you guys stay blessed. God bless. Everyone have a good one. I'll catch yous later. Okay, that's why I lost that amateur fight. Them bullshit ass punches right there. Oh damn, chat. My looks like Looks like my mouse died too. I'm actually live gonna have to. I'm gonna have to replug in my charger. Oh boy, I gotta plug my charger in so I can even end this thing. Hold up. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna circumvent all of that by just shutting my computer down. Peace.